Welcome back to the channel. This is The Casuals. I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
In today's episode, well, there is no, I guess, particular episode. So today is, special day where we're basically celebrating our 6 month anniversary of doing this. Um, the mood is just kind of, normal. It's not like, we're not really running an actual, professional YouTube channel or professional podcast channel or whatever this may qualify as. It's just the same as always where we've been recording throughout, the 6 months. And so today's more of a free talk. There's nothing really special I haven't planned for this kind of thing. I thought about multiple things up to this point, whether it was some kind of like montage or some video that we could have made on the side or something like that. But in the end, I decided the best way to do this is just keep on doing what we've usually have, but reflect on what's happened in the past 6 months. So I guess to start this review, I guess what we're now at this, Saki, we're at this 6 month point. What are your thoughts now?
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised we kept up with it. We do kind of sometimes have a tendency to start something and then after a while just be like, forget about it and come back to it later. But we actually, consistently kept this going. So I'm kind of proud of ourselves.
um and to whoever may have watched this video, you're like, they may be like, really, you guys only have to record once a week and you upload. There's nothing, nothing hard about that, right? But that's just how we are, and I don't know. I think it's just because the reason why we're so old. I'm also surprised, just like you. I think the reason why it was kind of hard for us to imagine us even getting to the 6 months points was just our lifestyles are radically different. I guess it'd be a little bit kind of personal, but you yourself have a full-time job, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so Mondays through Fridays, typically you are busy, through your work hours. And after you get home, you still have to take care of, other stuff that is required in your household. So, it's not just like, where you can finish your job and get home and then, immediately do nothing. You still have to, feed yourself, take care of the house, whatever, and, be a responsible person. Essentially, you just have responsibilities. Um, Combine that with the fact that you typically don't play a lot of you typically don't play a lot of games, do you?
No, not really.
And so I guess you can see, quote unquote, you have more, quote unquote, free time. Because for me, I play a lot of games. Like, I play too many games. Um, you know, constantly whenever we're about to record, or whenever we have something to do, or we're about to play games. Um, I always say, like, hold up, let me finish this one thing up, and it's because I'm doing another game while we're trying to get a session going with, like, whatever we want to do. Um, and bless your heart, Saki, you've never gotten mad at me once before for that,
No,
at least.
no. You know what? You have your things to do and I had my things to do, so can't really get mad over stuff like that.
Yeah. And so going back to the point of we're both surprised that we made it to the 6 month point, is that yeah, we just didn't expect to get here. Um Especially when this idea of even doing this whole thing, this whole concept of just us two recording once a week, talking about whatever we can, was kind of like a well, not even kind of. It was a spur of the moment type deal. Um, Inspirations that were definitely there. Just listening to people talk about their stuff, but it was never something I had set upon doing, I guess, until that one time where I think we talked about. I think we talked about the first time I mentioned it was when we went to that ramen place that we talked about in one of our episodes. Do you remember?
Uh, the Hironori ramen, is that the one?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was like the, you know, time where I actually, kind of was just like, hey, you really want to do this, right? And you were like, yeah, it seems pretty fun. Um, and even then, at that time, that was around, I want to say early December, I think, right? That was around early December.
Probably, yeah.
Um, it was around early December where I talked to you about that, and we didn't start recording until the second week of January. I think the January 7th was on the week or the day that we actually started, and today is, as of recording, June 7th. Or no, July 7th. Sorry. Um, and so yeah, it just kind of happened. You ended up having to change quite a few things. For once, your lifestyle, well, not lifestyle, but the things that you've had changed drastically. You ended up getting a completely new computer, because of this dumb idea of mine.
Not only that, my old computer was, again, old. Like when you started it up, it sounded like a jet engine was going off. It was loud and pretty bad. It's pretty slow. So
Yeah,
it was due for an upgrade anyway. It's just it happened a lot faster than I imagined.
yeah. Um, and so quite a other things went into this. We ended up going to a lot of other, restaurants, namely, to try out food more frequently than we have, because I think in the past we did try food um quite often, but we didn't do it as often as we have done in this past 6 months. Gosh, I wonder, we've gone to like, I want to say in the past 6 months we've gone to like almost 10 different restaurants at this point.
Honestly, I lost track of how many we went to.
Yeah. um it was just to so many that I honestly would have never thought about even going to in the first place before the casuals was made. And the time we went to LA was completely like that would have never happened. I feel like that would have never happened if we hadn't done the casuals, you know?
Probably not, because then you wouldn't have, shown me or started to show me some anime, and then if we didn't watch that, that wouldn't have led to, hey, you want to go to LA kind of thing.
Because we wanted okonomiyaki.
Yep, just because it looked so good in the anime, and literally minutes after, I just started Googling where to get some.
And because of that, we've discovered a like lovely, fantastic udon place that we'll hopefully revisit again in the future. But you know, I think that was the furthest we've gone together on a trip during at that point in time. Um, yeah, that was right. I don't think
Yeah,
we've been any further.
no, that was the farthest.
Yeah. Um, Gosh, there's so much. There's so many things that I want to say, but so many other things that I can't say because it's hard to present them in words. It's kind of like a, I guess, not necessarily a nostalgic feeling, but kind of like you know that mood when you're just like that one time where the weather is just perfect and like for you, and then you just sit and take in all the weather and you just like kind of just stare off in the distance.
Yep, I know that feeling.
It's basically that feeling, but also just like almost another sense of I guess gratitude, you know? If I had to describe this gratitude, I think the gratitude really comes from just one, trying something new. I had never done this kind of thing before. Neither have you, I would believe.
Oh yeah, no, I've never done this.
Kind of like going into the unknown, you know? I've seen so many other, YouTubers, famous people, or um, other creators, I would say, follow this kind of podcast route, or just basically where they get together and talk about stuff. But I never really went through it because, one, by myself, I have no capabilities of being entertaining. I feel like I'm a very boring person. Um, and two, at the time when I was thinking about all that kind of stuff, I just didn't have anyone to do it with. And during the times I had like the kind of inkling idea of I want to try doing a podcast, you were still busy with college during that time. So, um, there was no way it was going to happen during the time you were in college, and you were like pretty busy, if I remember.
Oh yeah, classes all day and then work after. And so I was basically busy from morning to evening.
Yeah, and the only time you were home is when you were sleeping, basically.
And on weekends, and that was it.
Yeah. Um, and so I guess this part would end here. Another question is, what are some things that you wanted to do during the six up to this point that we haven't gotten up to yet? I guess would be a good question.
Um, that's a good one. That's a thinker right there. I would say I feel like we could have had other segments, but we just couldn't think of them.
Yeah, I remember. We talked about this quite frequently about the potato chips and like chips, making like a tier list and talking about them. Um,
Oh yeah, our tier lists.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. I was just like, yeah, let's do it. But then every time I thought about doing it and like actually trying to make it happen, it became a lot more of a nightmare to do. Because I remember you would always bring up this point. It's like, how would we actually categorize these chips that we know of, right? Because there's the classic potato chips, um, and then there are corn chips, and then there are chips that are not even made out of potato or corn. Um, and then we get into the problem of, do we divide them into snacks? What kind of snacks do we classify them? And so it just keeps getting more and more complicated, in my opinion, at least. And so I've been kind of like disappointed at myself for not being able to find a solution for that yet. Hopefully we can get something going, for a future, reoccurring segment. But right now, I think I still don't have a good idea of how to go about it. Um, what do you feel about like trying to even categorize these type of snacks that we've at least experienced?
Honestly, I think we're overthinking it.
Mm.
I think when we do tier list and there's like a certain whatever is given, to a list
Mm-hmm.
of like best to worst, we should just go off of what's on that list. And honestly, we shouldn't even go too deep into it. We should just be like, you know what? Like, let's say Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's just say Cheetos. Like, I love Cheetos. So I'd be like, hey, like S tier. Like, I love Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, how about like a barbecue chip? I'd be like D tier. I'm sick of barbecue chips. I don't like the flavor. I don't like the like barbecue. And then we should just do it something simple.
Gotcha.
I feel like putting too many variables in there, I don't think we'll just be like tiring ourselves out thinking of all of it.
Yeah,
I think if
definitely.
we just be like, yeah, I like these kind of thing, just in our own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, people are never gonna always agree with us, but. Just be like, yeah, these are good. These go to the top. These are bad. These go to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we just do that, it'd be so much easier.
Definitely, we should try it then. Gosh. So, I don't know if this is, right about, not right, but necessarily right, but I kind of wanted to talk about this. Is like, we've talked about this multiple times up to this point. Like even more recently. Um, and that is going to Japan. And so you and I both want to go to Japan. um, I think we both wanted to go to Japan before we even talked about it. You had reasons to go, I think, as to why you wanted to go to Japan. I'm not too clear on that. If you don't mind sharing before we even talked about going pre the casuals conception came around.
Yeah, so I initially wanted to go to Japan just because, one, it's a home country for me. I am Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
as if my name didn't clearly give it away. But yeah, I've always wanted to go to Japan. I am Japanese. I want to experience my own culture because I've never really traveled very much.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like probably my top destination. Plus, I visited Thailand years ago, like right before COVID hit,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a layover in Japan, and I enjoyed it. Everyone in Japan thought I was just absolutely nuts
I remember
because,
that story.
yeah, okay, quick TLDR. In Thailand, it's constantly like 90 degrees Fahrenheit plus 100% like humidity. So you're in shorts and a t-shirt, summer clothing. And this was during December. So can you imagine summer? It's just hotter. Anyways, okay, so I get to Japan for, our layover for the flight. It's winter over there. They actually have winter. But I didn't pack for winter. I packed for summer. And so I was in Japan in shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops, and all the Japanese people are looking at me. They're in like 4 layers of clothing with like hats, scarves, mittens, or gloves or whatever. And I'm just out here rocking the shorts, t-shirt, and flip-flops. Freezing.
You
So
were
that's the
like,
quick. Yeah, that was just my little TLDR story right there.
yeah. Oh my god, I remember laughing too hard when you talked about that. It's just too funny to imagine that, knowing you. Um, because, it wasn't intentional. And I know if you had known beforehand that, you had, that just like the thought was like, oh wait, it's winter in Japan, you would have dressed accordingly, but,
Or
um,
at least packed a pair of long pants.
yeah, you were basically caught out in the open with no recourse in that sense.
Yeah. I even remember a lot of people are asking me like, "You're not cold?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "This feels nice." From where I came from, this feels very nice.
And so I guess I want to talk about my reason wanting to go to Japan. So I'm not Japanese, but I had been there for a while because I was visiting other people there, namely my sister in Japan. And typical. There may be the assumption of typical anime fan wants to go visit Japan and be a weeaboo. I guess part of me really did want to do that just because of anime, but I think another part was just because during that time, I want to say I was like an adolescent, you know, kind of like that pubescent teenager wanting to voyage on his own, get away from the family. That was kind of like that was the more of the stronger motivation, and my sister happened to be living in Japan during the time, so I was like, hey, let me go visit her. And so I went completely by myself and met up with my sister eventually. Like I talked about in, one of the episodes where I talk about going to Japan. And I remember one of the things I loved there was the food. Food was pretty much it matched my palate, you know. I'm not trying to be like a food expert or whatever, but it just like the food that Japan had clicked with me essentially. And so after going, my time there and coming back home, I wasn't necessarily like obsessed to the point where it's like I must go back to Japan. It's more like it would be nice to go back. That's my thought. And it's been, I want to say, almost 5 or 6 years since then. Since I went, and now I'm kind of getting the itch, not itch, but kind of like the thought of wanting to go back again. So I ended up mentioning to you, and I remember you told me about wanting to go to Japan before. So I ended up proposing like, hey, why not go together? Not to mention now where they're doing the casual stuff where we're recording stuff. Maybe we can even maybe this is more of a reason to go. Where we can talk about it on this channel one day. Theoretically, if it exists at that point. We haven't even finalized the plan, or if we even for sure are gonna go together. Who knows what may the future hold? But I only wanted to talk about it now because there's a lot of. I know this is kind of a bad thing. And to be honest, I am more of a pessimist when it comes to things like this. I'm honestly not even sure if we're gonna make it to a year. I have no idea. It's not because I don't think we're running out of motivation or we're running out of materials. We kind of are, to be honest, but it's not like a huge detriment to what we're doing here. It's just more of because we literally don't know what could happen in the next 6 months. I want to just bring this up now. And if we do end up going in the future, we can look back at this fondly, so be like at the time of uncertainty and general just fleeting thoughts of trying to, I guess, complete what most people would call a bucket wish. No, bucket list wish down. I think it'd be nice if we were to be successful in going. And I know with you for sure, we have if we were to go together, I'd be heavily motivated to travel throughout all of Japan just to try out different foods with you. And
Oh yeah.
that'd be fun, going to different regions and experiencing their specialties.
Oh yeah. We're definitely not like hardcore foodies, but we like good food.
Yeah, and especially when we're going to a place where we generally we generally do like Japanese food that is given here where we are. We're more inclined to believe that we're gonna like the food in the source.
I mean, how you got to go to the motherland for the food.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be it's I don't know about always, but it's most likely going to be way better in the home country.
Yeah. And so, that's just, the talk for Japan for now. We're not really gonna. I'm not really gonna talk about more than that because again, it's literally something that hasn't been finalized or anything like that, or even confirmed from the start. We just have this kind of fun thought about doing it.
Yeah, it's just kind of floating in the air right now.
Yeah. Another thing I guess I want to address that's not really too important to I guess anyone, really. Even to ourselves, it's not that important, but I just do want to address it, just in case. Um, we talked about we have our stories of where we play games together, and we still do play games together, but there is I guess there's multiple reasons why I haven't live streamed any of them yet. We did actually have a Twitch channel for this, the casuals, but I realized there was quite a bit of issues for the Twitch channel, just because it would be inconsistent with what we want to do and what I personally want to do. So I ended up just not. So I ended up just not having the Twitch channel active anymore. It's no longer going to be in descriptions for now. And as for why we don't stream, you know, our play sessions during our, even on YouTube on this channel where it's possible. I can easily set it up, but I just don't do it. It's because, well, one, I'm a boring person. There's not much that I can do to make things more entertaining. And two, both of us, I feel like, are more objective oriented people, where if there's an objective, we just basically focus on getting that objective done, and we don't really concern ourselves with anything else other than that.
I agree to that one.
And so we usually, like, when we're trying to get these objectives done, we don't talk that much.
Yeah, there's very few words.
Yeah. And even if there are words, it's not like we're bantering with each other. It's more like, hey, I'm getting this done. What's the progress on what you're doing, right? That's not entertaining. And it's not necessarily, and this isn't like the biggest, I guess, issue with the decision not to live stream. But it is part of a good chunk of the reason why I don't. It's because it's not going to be entertaining, and two, having to worry about a live stream while we're just trying to enjoy our time playing games I feel like it's going to be more of a detriment than it already is, because the times where we can play with each other are like, not always, there are times where we can't play with each other at all for even a couple of days or even maybe up to a week, and so the times where we do get to play, games with each other, I don't want to be like, hold up, I'm going to, start live streaming this, and, you have to worry about multitudes of other things, So that's like the biggest reason why I haven't decided, that's why I decided against, live streaming for this channel specifically. I may end up live streaming my own time, but definitely not when we're both trying to just enjoy the game that we're currently playing. The only time I can see that happening is maybe Overwatch, but at the same time it gets really old. So yeah. What else do I want to talk about? Gosh, what was it? Oh, I remember now. So I guess like one little fun off topic. It does have to do with Overwatch. You and I both have history with Overwatch, but we played at different times, very different times. I want to say I played at the beginning of Overwatch until I want to say 2 or 3 years, and then I stopped, and then you ended up picking it up shortly after I dropped it, I think.
No, I was playing since because the game came out in 2016.
Yeah.
I picked it up maybe early 2017 till, current day.
I see.
But I don't think we were in touch that much because I was in college.
Yeah, and I had just started college too during that time.
In 2016?
Yeah. Or 2017. 2016 was the end of the high school year, and then 2017 is when I entered college.
Right. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Yes, I know I'm young, quote unquote young. I am the younger one, between us both, so if you guys haven't figured that out yet already, there you go. But because we ended up never playing together on Overwatch, I think our experiences were different, and I think our opinions of Overwatch were very different. But you still, I want to say you still play more. Like, you still play the game, just at the times you want to. And I think this is so it's not necessarily strictly about Overwatch, but like I think you feel it a lot, and I think Overwatch is like the best example of this. Um, what do you think about games? You know, just basically deteriorating in quality. You know,
I mean, it sucks to see Overwatch slowly heading in that. Actually, not even slowly. They're like sprinting in that direction right now. They were slowly, but they realized, you know what, we can go faster. So they started sprinting towards that, which kind of sucks because, Overwatch, it was a great game. I'm not going to lie. But ever since, I want to say, what, April of 2020, when they kind of started neglecting it just started going downhill. And now they're, like I said, they're sprinting down that hill as fast as they can.
yeah. Um, there could be a whole 30-minute episode where we just basically talk about the issues of Overwatch, but we're not gonna do that. Because there's been so many other people who've done it for us already.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and it's just unfortunate because Overwatch, as you said earlier, it was a great game, but because they neglected it so hard, now it's basically a joke. Um, to most people, anyways. Um, so it's kind of sad seeing that happen, and um, this is not to speak for all games in general, live service games, I want to say, but this is basically has been the trend for a lot of live service games. Um, it's basically a common trend. I, you know, because of that, it's actually harder for us to play games that that are short, objective-based games that have quick sessions, maybe up to, or I want to say quick as in like 30 to 40 minutes, kind of like Overwatch matches, or even shorter. It just depends on what game mode you play, but um, have these quick bursts of sessions where we can just enjoy, that kind of stuff. And in general, co-op games has been scarce um, over the past decade, I want to say, because during the time of Xbox, the height of Xbox with their Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, or PlayStation 4 and Wii, console games, there was a lot of co-op games because split screen was like a thing.
Yeah, and now everyone just plays online, so they got rid of that split screen experience.
And co-op in general because they associated split screen with co-op. And they never conceptualized having a co-op game online. And I'm sure whoever happens to listen to this will be like, there's multitude of examples of co-op games, right? But and good co-op games. But what's the what game has lived up to the same type of cooperative, gameplay experience as, Borderlands 2? Generally, there isn't. There hasn't been a game like that, in my opinion. And I don't know if we will ever get a game like that in the future. So who knows? Maybe we'll get it. And, maybe we'll be able to play together. Talk about experiences then. But for now, it looks like we're basically relying on kind of like a luck-based event for this to happen.
Yeah, and with our luck, doesn't seem like that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah. So, gosh, there are a lot of other things that I feel like I have to say, but I can't just think of right now. So I guess I'll
We'll make,
just. Oh, go
maybe
ahead.
we'll make a part two of this. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe we'll make a part two. Shortly after, or maybe this will just have to continue when we get to our 1 year anniversary. Um, but I guess the last thing I want to say is hopefully we'll continue this. I genuinely hope that we're able to do this for at least another 6 months, at least reach that 1 year mark, right? Um, so we have a minimum of 52 episodes. Um, It's gonna be more closer to 54 if we end up going to 1 year, just because we have 2 extra episodes that I did with the 2 other people. But um, yeah, like, I mean, and this may be an obvious answer, but do you hope that we can get to the 1 year mark at the very least?
Oh yeah, I really hope so. And honestly, I'll be the optimistic side. I think we will. I think honestly, if well, I'll talk about this very briefly at the end of this episode, but I think if we add a couple more segments, we'll have a lot more content to get to.
Yeah. Um, and I'll try avoiding the one thing I do want to mention is I always say we might have a new segment or we might have something new coming up. I'm not gonna mention that anymore just because a lot of them just happen to be more, I guess, false or empty kind of talks. But for this one special case, we do have something, I guess, quote unquote, more interesting that's gonna come up that should start in the next episode. Um, and so you're I know you're looking towards this. Uh, I can't mention it yet just because it's gonna be something of a little surprise when the next week comes around and the episode comes out. But yeah, I think I've basically talked about what I wanted to talk about specifically. What about you? Do you have anything to say for now?
Um, Not really. We kind of covered, everything up to this point. How we got like how we got here really. All of our, you know, shenanigans, I want to say. And yeah, I think if you don't mind me going over what I think a good segment would be really quick. I think you already know what I'm talking about. We've discussed this a couple times.
Yep. Go ahead.
But I might think of it instead of it being at the very end of our episodes, I think maybe it could be a whole episode.
I see.
Because what? Okay, I'll give a quick little rundown of what I'm thinking. So, when I'm at work and, there's those random, slow points where nothing's happening, my brain is just very weird and strange. So, it comes up with the probably like dumbest questions it can think of because I want to know answers to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I started writing them down. And I emailed this list to myself. And honestly, the list has grown, but the original list I emailed has 130 questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably now at like 150,
Mm-hmm.
but they're really like dumb. These questions are like, what made you think of that? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking, we can have like, little talks,
Mm-hmm.
like 5 minute, 5-10 minute talks. We could do a couple of these, for each segment of the
Mm-hmm.
episode, because there's a lot of these. And if what our original idea, just putting, asking one at the end of each episode, we are never gonna get to the end of the list.
True.
So I'm thinking maybe if we do like 3 to 5, depending on how long we talk about them,
Mm-hmm.
that could be our episode. Our whole new thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm down for it.
Because I really want to know some of your opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I call it question of the day at work. Because I send my coworkers one of these questions every day to get their opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of look at me like, "Are you okay?" So like today, it being Friday, we hit the question 90 today
mm-hmm.
at my work.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I've been doing these for months.
Yeah.
And I still have many, many more. So I would like to, get your opinions, and, whoever's watching this, if you, throw a comment of what you think, you could throw your little spiel in there, or just a responsive dude, you are like mentally insane or something. Even something like that, because I think sometimes I am mentally insane with these questions.
I remember describing what we do, us as the casuals, what we do in our episodes, right? And I remember describing these to my other friends, and they were like, "Dude, you sound like two stoners." I'm like, "What?" But then looking back at it, yeah, we do kind of, the things that we do in the episodes we talk about are kind of like stoner activities.
True.
But
I mean, yeah.
take our word for it. We don't do that kind of stuff. We just do this because we thought it'd be fun.
Yeah. And hopefully with this new segment starting, we'll add it into our rotation.
Hmm.
Hopefully this will bring a little more, you know, comical content.
Yeah. And so we're getting the end of this, I guess special episode. So, but we'll end it like usual. And so I'm Jin.
And I'm Saki.
This is the Casuals, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.